Alan Watts' perspective on the concept of the separate self. If there was one central theme Alan Watts consistently returned to in his vast body of work, it was the idea of the self, or more specifically, the illusion of the separate self. He proposed that the individual, the I, Om, which we take to be our true identity, is merely an abstraction. It is a concept created by our minds, influenced heavily by societal norms and conditioning, that has no real independent existence. According to Watts, our common perception of selfhood is akin to a wave imagining itself to be separate from the ocean. We see ourselves as independent entities, navigating through an external world, separate from other people and the environment around us. But Watts argued that this was a grand illusion, a misconstrued interpretation of reality. He proposed that in reality, the boundaries we draw between ourselves and the world are arbitrary and artificial. We are not merely in the universe, we are an integral part of it. Watts's perspective resonates with some fascinating insights from quantum physics and cognitive psychology. For instance, the concept of quantum entanglement in physics describes how two particles can become interconnected in such a way that they behave as a single entity, regardless of the distance between them. This sense of interconnectedness at a fundamental level of reality echoes Watts's view of our interconnected nature. Moreover, studies in cognitive psychology suggest that our sense of being a separate self is largely a construct of our brains. For example, research has shown that our brains use narrative and memory to create a coherent sense of identity over time, even though our thoughts, feelings, and experiences are constantly changing. Watts likened the human being to an aperture through which the universe experiences and understands itself. He suggested that we are like whirlpools in a river, temporary formations that give the illusion of being separate entities, while in reality, we are inseparable from the flow of water, the river itself. In other words, we are not individuals who come into the world. Rather, we are expressions of the world, much like leaves are to a tree. This perspective challenges many deeply held assumptions about identity, individuality, and selfhood. It goes against the grain of Western thought, which places a strong emphasis on individualism and personal autonomy. Yet, it aligns with many Eastern philosophies, especially those of Hinduism and Buddhism, which view the self as an interconnected part of a vast, encompassing reality. By shedding the illusion of the separate self, Watts believed we could liberate ourselves from the anxiety, conflict, and suffering that this illusion breeds. It is not an easy task. It requires a radical shift in our perception and understanding of who we are. But the reward, according to Watts, is a profound sense of peace, freedom, and connection with the universe. We realize that we are not isolated entities, but integral parts of a vibrant, ever-changing cosmos. In the next section, we will delve into the role of the ego in maintaining this illusion of separateness and how it manifests in our modern society. This exploration will help us understand the complex dynamics of self-perception and offer practical ways to transcend our ego-driven conflicts. As we learn to see beyond the ego, we begin to appreciate our profound interconnectedness with the world around us. And in this newfound understanding, we may find a sense of liberation and inner peace that Watts often spoke of. But remember, as Watts would surely remind us, this is not about rejecting or demonizing the ego. Rather, it's about recognizing its function and not being misled by its illusions. The journey towards understanding is not a battleground, but a dance, a gentle and compassionate exploration of the self in its many forms. So, shall we dance?